Hey, it's June 7th. This is Dave Schroeder. They are just blasting the ever living shit out of me with their little directed energy weapons, the Havana syndrome. You know, I really don't even care to actually discuss it because what difference does it make? People don't care. And to say that they don't exist or that the government doesn't have toys that nobody knows about or that there's all kinds of shit that our government is doing that nobody is really have a clue about. It's not like our government hasn't had a history of having fucking toys that they said didn't exist, and then 20 years later we find out that they did. That heart attack gun, you know? Perfect example. The whole thing about it is, for me, is that I've really had to evaluate where I'm at. And I get a lot of atheists on Twitter suddenly, and they're always talking. And so I wanted to actually say, for someone who has died and come back over and over and over and over, because that's what the fuck they were doing when they drowned me as a kid over and over and over, and then revived me, and then drowned me, and then revived me. Same fucking thing they did with Max. I would be willing to bet if you look at Aquino, there's a long history of a lot of people. But people, what difference does it make? Aquino was brilliant. He was brilliant. And having died over and over and what he was going through, I can tell you unequivocally that the other side exists. Heaven exists. Angels, God, all exist. It's, they say that when people die, they come back and they have a stronger bond, and it changes them. And Aquino was a freaking Nazi, and he called himself a Satanist, but he was really a Luciferian, founder of the Temple of Set. Brilliant dude. The shit that I learned was key to a lot of this. I was trained to do a lot of shit as a kid. But God in my life has not been easy. When you consider the fact that one of the best things that ever happened to me as a kid was when my family made me throw a match on that dude in the duplex in Fremont, on that in the corner in the basement, and light him on fire. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because all of the shit that they were programming me to do at Offutt Air Force Base, and all of the rituals and shit that were going on at Hummel Park, I was always drugged in all of those. And when my family made me light that dude on fire, I was stone cold sober. And it eventually caused me to have a psychotic break. When I was 14, I ended up in a mental institution for 5 months because I had a psychotic break over all the shit that happened. And although that sounds horrible, and it was, it broke their hold on me. And so I had the training, all that training, and all of the stuff that they had done to me, and the rituals and all of that. And so it allowed me to direct myself. The reason why Aquino was afraid of me, Aquino knew who I was when I showed up at his front door in San Francisco, off of, I think it was Fisherman's Wharf. It was a place with kids, and he and Lilith were upstairs, terrified, because I could hear them in the open window upstairs. When Doug Millar took me to his front door, he knew who I was. The thing about it is that what Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, doesn't realize is that I don't need a horned hat when I do shit or pour milk on people. I certainly don't need to whip out my dick in front of national media when I'm at the Westboro's minister's mother's grave trying to make her gay. You know, I don't need any of that shit. And Aquino figured out what I was up to. There is a reason why, dumbass, I reached out to Fiona Barnett in Australia and got involved with all of the abuse and stuff that was going on down there. And it was the same reason I went to the UK and got involved with the Hampstead thing. And that case, even though the group home that has all those survivors should be much more of a focus. I forget what the name of it is, but there's like, the last I heard, 500 victims who have all gotten together and joined forces over a group home that was doing the same shit. But there's a reason why I got involved with the Hampstead case in the UK. It's the same reason why I went on Franklin Files after that Rachel Bengley invited me onto Franklin Files and I had to fight with Noreen Gosh and Paul Bonacci. There was a reason for it. You all focused and thought, oh, I'm trying to expose stuff and I'm trying to get people involved and all the shit that everyone else did. And that was never the big picture for me. What I needed to do is I needed each and every one of you to willingly bind yourselves to me. Willingly. And you all have. The organized hate and aggression that I have dealt with from all of you. The shit down in Australia. There's a reason why Isaac Cappy was called down to Australia. The shit in the UK. You know, all of that stuff in the UK. Not to mention battling with Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, you know, who isn't a Satanist, but I'm everything to everyone all the time. I'm Legion. That's the shit. All of you have willingly bound yourselves to me. What you should do, if you were wise, is go in and find out what Michael Aquino, Colonel Michael Aquino, high up at the Bohemian Grove, best friends with Reagan and Bush and the lot of them, find out what he was actually up to. And in the end, what he was afraid of, so that he did what he did, committing suicide, I guess. But, because in the end, all this shit that you're doing to me, all these weapons and stuff, it gets to be returned to you the next time around. The reason why I have survived all of your stupid attempts, you know, that thing, let me remind you, out in Seattle, all of that shit with me losing weight started with me ending up picking myself up off the floor after I let the dogs into my house. That's how it started. It started with that. I had passed out for the first time ever in my life and woke up on the floor. Then the very next night, that woman that was obviously part of your group who convinced me she wanted to stay on the phone with me all night. And I didn't understand why. I thought it was ridiculous. I was just going to be sleeping, but I was just like, what the fuck ever, I don't care. And screamed at the top of her lungs at about 5:10 after 3 in the morning. Woke me up. Told me that someone said, kill him on the phone. And screamed and woke me up. I thought it was weird. But then the fucking Algona police show up at my house the same night at 3:20 in the morning because someone from Australia told them I was fucking suicidal. So that's how all of this shit started. And then that night, whatever you were beaming at me on those rocks, I could feel every one of my organs. And my 3 dogs, who were puppies at the time, Each one of them at different times of the night, every one of them had these weird seizures they've never had since. And then all of a sudden, the next 2 months, I lose 100 pounds, you know, until I went out and got those rocks and dug them up, and it had that weird, all the tops were exposed for all 12 rocks, and they had this weird metallic mold on it. But let me remind you, Iran has your weapon. You were aiming it at their president. And after I emailed every fucking Iranian official I could and told them what was happening to him, and they were having to carry him around, and he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. He was getting ready to die. Now it's 2023. This was years ago, and he's fine. But 2 weeks later, after I emailed that, telling them what they needed to look for, they found and executed a spy, and suddenly he was fine. So we're at the end. God is here. Heaven is here. What you're fighting, you can't win against. You know, the sun is inundating us with gamma radiation and heat. Canada is on fire. You know, the Jordan River now is basically dried up. You know, the Platte River around here is gone, and the Missouri is starting to look like the Platte. This is over. We're at the end. And I don't worry about it, because all these idiots around here that have gotten involved with this group, they've all done the same thing. Even though a lot of the shit that's happened has failed through all of it, in fact, all of it has failed. The gas station failed. The gas station did not blow up in Erlin by itself. That doesn't even make sense. You know, what I'm saying makes sense, and that it was hidden. But Neil thinks he can't be judged by God. He's going to find himself square in the darkness, and he knows that that's how I feel. I let him know all the time, as many times as I can. Would like to save people. This video is kind of rambling. As you can tell, it's been days since I've done one of these. I really just don't care anymore. We're at the end. Everything is being burned away. You're either going to fill your hearts with love, and with all this heat and the craziness that's going on, it's affecting all of us. So in the end, you will have to consciously choose to love. That is the cost for all of this. So if you don't know how to love now, chances are you're doomed. You know, you're doomed, because we're called to love. And what mankind has forgotten, for the most part, is the fear of God, and they're about ready to get it back. And the darkness is claiming all of you. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, who wants to pretend now. Dude, and let me point out, all that shit disappearing off of YouTube all at once, obviously that was all you and your minions. You know, it wasn't even everybody else. It was just you, you know, because the shit that you've had on YouTube, and now it's suddenly all gone. I haven't looked now, but it was gone before. Nothing comes up, just my stuff, which means it's all you. You're trying to pretend that, you know, dude, you're sad. You're sad. You're no Michael Aquino, let me tell you. I learned from the best. I knew about occult shit before I knew about anything else. The only thing people know, Christians, is that you're not supposed to do it. They don't have a clue what it is. And when this all started, it was all occult. It was just that God helped me back to God, basically. And now it's heaven that's dealing with it, you know? And your asses bound yourselves to me, and now you're about to ready to walk a fucking eternity in my shoes. So you think that you're so big and bad and so much better than I am? Well, you're about ready to find out if that's true or not. Okay, that's this video.